or if you want to. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Tanya Abelhauser-Goslin, Cascades Sustainability Advisor. Tanya has over 15 years of experience in sustainability in both for-profit and not-for-profit sectors in Quebec and internationally. Joining Cascade's sustainability team in 2021, she initiated and now leads the sustainability training program. She is also responsible for the publication of the annual sustainability report, leading special projects, and activating environmental partnerships. She is an undergrad in marketing, a graduate diploma in management and sustainability, and a master's degree in corporate, social, and environmental responsibility. Tanya and everyone at Cascade, thank you for joining us today. And without further ado, please take it away.
Well, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, and thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to come talk to you about Cascades and about sustainability in general. So let's get started here. Okay, perfect. So everyone can see we're good with my screen and everything. Perfect. So for those of you who are, maybe some of you are familiar with Cascades, maybe some other people are not so familiar. So I'll just take you back a little bit in time. So Cascades started 60 years ago this year, actually. It's our 60th anniversary, so it's really exciting. But what's even more exciting is that sustainability has really been a part of our DNA since the beginning. So really, 60 years ago, the founders incorporated sustainability and incorporated principles of the circular economy into their business model that they were inventing really at the beginning. There wasn't even a word for the circular economy back then, but for them it just came naturally. So what happened, the story is that they had seen some discarded fibers, by the side of the streets and in different waste areas. And they were like, well, the father of the family and his three sons, they were like, well, there's something, we must be able to do something with this fiber. We have to, like, it seems like such a waste to be sending this to landfill. So that's really how the company started. And I'm going to show you here this next slide. And this, I think, is one of my favorite pictures here that I show throughout the presentation. So they really started, they were in the kitchen, the family kitchen, the father and his three sons, and they're using the family blender and they're testing all these different recipes to make paper products. So it really started as a family business in the kitchen. And what I think is interesting, so they finally developed the winning formula. But what's interesting is at the beginning, they weren't saying that it was made out of recycled fibers because they were worried that perhaps people would think it would be of a lesser quality than the other products that were on the market, which were made from virgin materials. But no one even noticed the difference back then. And now we're really proud to say, that our materials are made out of recycled fibers. So a little bit of what has happened over the past 60 years. So obviously the company has grown into a much larger company. So we're now a leader in all tissue paper products production in Canada. We're the 6th largest producer in North America. And what's really exciting is, I don't know if you've heard of Corporate Knights before, but they rank different companies worldwide in terms of their sustainability performance. And so we're really proud to be 38th on that list of the most sustainable companies in the world. And what's also exciting is that we're first in our sector of packaging and paper solutions. And so let's get right into the topic for today. So we're going to talk about different trends that demonstrate an increased focus in sustainable practices and policies that are coming up that we're seeing now in 2024. So first, we have the different legislative requirements pertaining to sustainability. So a word that we've been hearing about a lot lately, and I'm sure you've heard of it, is the EPR, or the Extended Producer Responsibility. And this is a law that's slowly coming into place in different provinces and different states that will make producers responsible for their products at the end of their life. So we can really see that laws and regulations are going to be becoming stricter and have more penalties for companies that don't follow best practices in terms of sustainability for their products. And so especially with these laws coming up, we can see the importance of working on eco-consumption, and we'll talk about this later on during the webinar. We're seeing a lot more importance coming about for more transparent sustainability reporting. There's also laws and rules that are coming up in the next few years. Some laws have already started in Europe, but we're seeing them arrive in North America. So there's so many different ways to disclose information pertaining to sustainability. We have TCFD, SBTI, SASB, CDP. There's so many different acronyms. And then most companies that are serious about sustainability are also putting out their own sustainability reports. So transparency and disclosure are becoming more and more important. And then there's a lot more scrutiny with regards to greenwashing. So consumers are becoming more and more aware of different greenwashing tactics that could be used by different companies. And so which brings more importance to being certified by different third-party certifications, which kind of backs up what you're seeing in terms of your different environmental practices. And this is one thing that I didn't mention about Cascades. So we've always been part of the circular economy, using recycled fibers to make our products, but we also have our recovery division, which really makes us close the loop in terms of the circular economy. So our recovery division is a service that we offer to different companies, and we also do it in certain municipalities, where we go and collect the materials or the waste, the fiber waste that might be generated by different companies. Sometimes we'll go directly to the back store of a company, pick up their cardboard boxes, and then we'll bring it to the closest converting facility that we have there. So just last year, we recovered 1.1 million tons of materials through our recovery division. So now let's look at 6 different things that we should be looking at to make more responsible and sustainable decisions. So one thing that's really important when you're looking at different companies that claim to have sustainable practices is to look if they have some set targets, and do they have a plan to achieve those targets. So obviously what you don't measure, you can't improve. So that's why we think it is important to have some ambitious targets, but also a roadmap to see how you're going to get there. So I know this slide can be a little bit overwhelming, but these are Cascades. We have 15 different objectives pertaining to sustainability. And here we're not just looking at environmental practices, but we're also looking at social practices, which are divided into 4 pillars. So now I'm just going to break it down a little bit per pillar. So we have our respectful of the planet pillar. So this incorporates all targets that we have. So we have 6 different targets in this category that are pertaining to the environment. And of course, I don't think we could talk about sustainability today without talking about climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. I think this is something that everyone is talking about right now. And so I just want to bring your attention here to 3 of our objectives, which are to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 in all different spheres of the company. So within our own emissions, but also throughout our supply chain. We also have some objectives pertaining to energy and water consumption, but I won't get into all these details, or else we could really spend all afternoon here. But if it's something that interests you, I really encourage you to go take a look at our sustainability action plan. It's available on our website. Then our second pillar is solutions driven. So this is everything pertaining to producing our products. And there's one objective here that I want to bring your attention to, is the eco-design of our products. So I was mentioning it at the beginning of the webinar, how this is something that we really need to work on in order to reduce the impact of our of our company, of our products. So we do have the objective that by 2025, we want 100% of our packaging that we sell and manufacture to be recyclable, compostable, or reusable. So we do have a guide that with 7 different principles that helps us make different choices about how best to produce our products to make sure that they have the least impact as possible. So this goes from, from the materials that we choose all the way to the end of life. How will the products life finish? We don't want it to go to waste, so we have to make sure that it's made so that it can be recyclable, as I mentioned, or compostable or reusable. And then what's also interesting here is, of course, our supply chain is really important to make sure that we make some sustainable choices. So 100% of the fiber and paper that we use is recycled or certified. This is an objective that we're striving for by 2025. And so, of course, in sustainability, sometimes it gets, we talk a lot about the environment, and sometimes we maybe talk a little bit less about the social aspect, but it's just as important. So we also have some objectives to make sure that we live in communities that are healthy and that we're giving back to the communities where we work. So we have something at Cascades that I think is really interesting, where we give our employees 2 days per year where they can go volunteer for any organization that is for a cause that's close to their heart. So they can really choose whatever interests them. And so that's why we've put in place an objective that we want to that we want our employees to volunteer for over 15,000 hours per year. And it's really what we're really proud of is actually this objective. Well, during COVID, it was a little hard to attain this objective, but in the past couple of years, we've really gone well above and beyond reaching this objective. So we're really proud that our employees are just as excited as us to give back to the communities where they live and where they work. And then people focus. So we talked about the communities where we work, but of course, it's also important for our employees to be healthy and well. So we have some objectives for our employees, people focused. And I think another important aspect of sustainability that we're hearing about more and more is equity, diversity, and inclusion. It's always been important for sure, but we're definitely hearing a lot about it a lot more these days. And so we have an objective for all of our employees to be trained on unconscious biases. Our plan, our sustainability action plan, is also aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So the goals here that you see that are highlighted are some of the goals that we're helping achieve. And we're also members of the United Nations Global Compact, which reaffirms our engagement even more to strive towards those objectives. So now number 2, so we have 6 points. That was point number 1. We still have a few more left to go, but that was the most the longest of the points. So second is the eco-design product. So we've already talked about this a little bit before. So I just want to point out that 82% of the fiber that we use to produce our products is recycled fiber. So this is really something that we're excited about. And so it's sometimes hard to know what that means. But so in 2023, we use 1.8 million short tons of recycled fiber, and this represents about 30 million trees, which is really a huge amount. It could, if you want like to kind of see what that represents visually, that's 121 times the size of Central Park. So it's a lot of trees that we're making sure are not cut from the environment. And then sustainable operations. So we talked about the materials that come in, and then we have to convert that material into products. And so it's really important that we protect the resources that we do have and use the less amount possible. So when we compare ourselves to the rest of the industry, we use 2.3 times less energy and 4.7 times less water than the industry average in North America. And also we emit less greenhouse gas emissions. So a lot of people will ask, how do you achieve these statistics? So a lot of it comes from well, as I mentioned, we have goals to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So working with technology that's a little bit changing our technology to use technology that uses less energy, but also using recycled fiber has a great impact on our operations. And then I was mentioning this at the beginning. So third-party certifications, in order to avoid greenwashing claims, being certified by a third party really allows you to show the public or show your consumers that you have a third party that will be basically saying that what you're saying is true. So we work with Green Seal, UL Eco Logo, and CMA for compostability to work with us to back up our claims. And then 5, empowering communities. So as I mentioned, we like to give back to our communities. So we give a lot in donations and sponsorships. Here, I don't know if you recognize who this person is here, but it's David Suzuki. And so we work a lot with the David Suzuki Foundation is one of the partners that we work with, that we cherish. And as I mentioned, our goal in terms of volunteering hours. So just last year, we volunteered over 20,000 hours. And then last but not least, science-based decision. And I love this slide, and I love talking about life cycle assessments. I think I could talk about this all day. And so where life cycle assessments are important is because they allow us to make decisions that, as I mentioned, are based on science and not just, we think this might be a good idea or this might be good. So by looking at life cycle assessments, we can really see the impact of a product from the beginning of its life, so extractions of the raw material, all the way to the end of its life, where it will be disposed at the end, if it will be recycled, put to waste, or reused. So we really look at the impact throughout all of its life cycle, not just during a short period, which is often what happens. People would just look at one period and say, okay, well, the production or the end of this life does not have a big impact, so this might be a good solution. But if you look at all of the life cycle, it might have an impact on the best decision that you can take for a product. And so at Cascades, we do have life cycle assessments for a lot of our products, so we can really know the impact of the products on the environment. What's important to note is that life cycle assessments are very important, but we work with third parties to do these assessments. As I was mentioning before, having a third party work with us just makes sure that just backs up our statements and what we're saying. But they do take a lot of time and they do cost a lot of money. So a life cycle assessment can maybe take up to 6 months to do and several tens of thousands of dollars to execute. So unfortunately, we might not have it for every single one of our products, but we try to do it for as many as we can. And I just wanted to give you a quick example here because sometimes it's kind of hard to really understand, what kind of information a life cycle assessment can provide. So here, I'm comparing the B140 product, which is also the Cascades Pro Select Jumbo Roll Toilet Paper, which is 100% made with 100% recycled materials. And I'm comparing it to a commercial bath tissue, a North American industry average that's made with 0% recycled. And so here we see the impact that these two products will have throughout their entire life cycle. And this is specifically their impact on climate change. So here, if we look, we can see the difference. Well, so obviously we see that the non-recycled product has more impact, but then we can also see at the end of its life was the impact, the distribution. We see, of course, manufacturing has has a big impact, and then the material production and transportation. So this is the kind of information that we can obtain from a life cycle assessment. So just to finish this up before we open it up to questions, some key takeaways. So we've talked about this a lot throughout all of the webinar, is the importance of eco-design products. So to make sure that if your product can be a circular product, that you could be recycled or composted or reused at the end, and made out of recycled material, that really has a huge impact on the product and the impact it will have on the environment. A sustainable supplier should have its own sustainable action plan with some ambitious goals and some measurable goals, in order to keep track of where they're going in terms of sustainability. And then the progress towards those goals should be shared annually. So you'll notice in the next couple of months, a lot of companies will be disclosing their reports for 2023. Cascades will be doing the same. This summer, we'll be publishing a report with our progress on those goals throughout 2023. And third-party certifications. So we touched base on this a lot, just making sure that any claims that a supplier company is giving, just make sure that they have certifications to back those up from a third party. So those are the key takeaways, and I think we're going to open it up to questions.
Yes, thank you, Tanya. We will now open the floor up to questions. You can type them into the chat, and I know Lori's monitoring that. So if any come through, Lori, you can just read them or ask them live, up to you guys. We also do, I have a question. What non-wood alternative fibers and how effective, what are non-wood alternative fibers and how effective are they?
Yes, that's a great question, and definitely one that we're getting a lot these days, and even over the past couple of years. So a non-wood fiber is any type of fiber that can be used to make a product that's not wood. So what we'll see, there's bamboo, eucalyptus, bagasse. I'm trying to think of the word in English. So that there's a lot of different materials that are being studied and looked at to see if they can fulfill the same products, make the same products with the same quality as wood fiber. So I know bamboo is one that's like very popular right now. People are talking about a lot, but what we've seen in their studies and what we've seen so far when we do a life cycle assessment is that the bamboo still has more impact than recycled fiber. So far what we're seeing is using recycled fiber has less impact than any of the non-wood fibers that we're seeing right now on the market, but it's something that at Cascades anyways, I'm sure other companies are doing the same. We're still researching, trying to innovate, looking at different alternatives, but so far recycled materials, fibers are what has the have less impact.
So, there is another one.
Mm-hmm.
What long-term sustainability goals does your company have in place?
So the 15 goals that we do have right now that I've mentioned, some of them are for 2030. So those are the goals that we have the most long term. And those are mostly looking at, well, greenhouse gas reduction is a big one. We're also looking into, we want to use 100% renewable energy by 2030 as well. So that's also a long-term goal that we have. Having a lot of our plants in Quebec is great for us because we do use hydroelectricity, but some of our plants are in the States or in other parts of Canada that don't have access to hydroelectricity. So we're looking at different ways to compensate in order to have 100% renewable energy. So those are some examples of long-term goals. They're mostly related to climate change and the environment. Yeah, but 2030 is our longest period for now. In 2026, we'll be making a new plan, and then we'll have longer goals at that time as well.
So And I think just one last question, are Cascades packaging materials sustainable?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So obviously not 100%. So as I mentioned, we want 100% of our packaging solutions to be recyclable, reusable, or compostable by 2025. And if I'm not, I know in 2022, 97% of our packaging did fulfill those criteria. So there was a little 3%. I don't have I think I'll have it like by Friday. I'll have the number for 2023. So we're still working on that 3%. But when we're talking about a sustainable packaging, there's so many criteria that can go into it. So we're looking at also what materials are being used to produce that product. Are we using recycled fibers? Are we using, I forgot to mention it, but we sometimes use virgin fiber for some of our products because for quality reasons, we don't have a choice. But that fiber that we're using, we're making sure that it's certified FSC, and we're even trying to, strive for higher levels of FSC certifications. Those are also part of our of our um, of our objectives. So that's the what's going into the product, but then also what are the operations? Are the operations sustainable? And then you're also looking at the end of life, as I mentioned, what happens? Does it go to waste, which would not be a great sustainable alternative? So yes, our packaging, I would say, is sustainable. If you look at all those criteria, it's not perfect. As I mentioned, we have that 3% that we're still working on, but I think we're on track.
Exactly. Well, I think if we get any more questions coming through, we will send them over to you guys immediately and get everyone up to speed with everything going on. But we really want to thank you, Tanya, and everyone at Cascades for sharing the valuable insights and expertise today. And we hope everyone has a great day.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Volpix. Bye-bye.
Brianna, have you stopped recording?
Lori's recording.
Oh,
Lori.